have to delete some videos. That sucks. Okay, we're gonna do the same thing to him, man. We're gonna break late and then just use him as a fucking wall. Let's go, baby. Flipped him right there and then. Oh, he will never catch me now. Hey, he tried to murder me. It's only fair. It doesn't have the wiggly tail, does it? It still feels like it has a bunch of input lag though. Like the game, like the default. Like it takes forever. There's definitely input lag. Visual damage, ABS. Don't want stability control. I think I'll keep traction control off for now too. Definitely gonna have to suffer through another race with input lag. It's so obvious. It's so fucking obvious how they added like input lag to the VSync setting. Because VSync by itself doesn't actually create such substantial lag. It might, very little, depending on your frame rate, but holy fucking shit did they add a lot of input lag. It's like the car is completely unresponsive. It is such an awkward feeling that the car just doesn't react to what you have to do. Yeah, it is like the Bluetooth controller. This is a great comparison. When you play Chaos Mode and it activates the Bluetooth controller, like it's at least a quarter second. Imagine your reaction time being a quarter second longer than usual. That's what this feels like. It's like you aged fucking 60 years. You're about to die and you can barely see in front of you. That's your reaction time that you have in this game. Just hate that there's so many fixes required, and honestly nobody in the community cares about this game. Like there's literally nobody modding this. There's no generic fix that you can just copy and paste. I did install the handling mod that Eden gave me, which already fixed the car's wobble behavior. Now I need to get rid of the input lag. Why are there some cars here that require you to have more money that you could actually pick? Okay. Rear-wheel drive, lightweight, should be good. I didn't really play the game without it first, so I'm not 100% sure. I mean, it doesn't have... I mean, we're gonna definitely know it on faster cars, right? When we have a slow car, I'm not 100% sure. Oh yeah, true, this game had this permanent sliding motion, that is true. Like the car was basically at an angle at a slide all the time. How was that a cut? I fell out of the track and the game is like, yeah, you just cut me. You can still tell it's a fix though, you know what I mean? Like you can still tell somebody messed with the game to make it better, but there's still an underlying problem. Another thing that I remember about this game, I always found extraordinarily difficult to become an aggressive driver. Because the game basically weighs your aggressive and your precision driving, and then you get a rank depending on what you do more. And I feel like you need to be extraordinarily aggressive to get that. What bothers me about Shift is that it's just not as good as Pro Street. And whenever a game comes out as a sequel and then it's worse than its predecessor, imagine you get into a new relationship and it's worse. Like you broke up with your girlfriend and the new one is worse. Like how bad do you feel? Fuck the graphics, man. The graphics are barely better than Pro Street. Yeah, sure, there's gonna be some more detail in some tracks, but it doesn't matter, dude. It's not like the graphics are gonna make a game good. Exactly, it always has been gameplay over graphics for me. But I will say I'm definitely molding already a lot less, so very important that you force VSync off. Although we're playing in metric, look at this, it says 200 kilometers on the inside, but then it says 200 miles per hour on the speedo. Like the speedo is not adjusted. The speedo did not get adjusted for the metric system. The weird thing for me is like Slightly Mad Studios, supposedly, caring for racing games, they didn't manage to get the handling right. Like, it's already so much harder to play a Simcade than a regular arcade racer, right? Like, that alone is something that people need to get used to. And then the default settings have a shit ton of dead zone where a controller doesn't work. And then also they add a bunch of input lag with VSync to make it even worse. Like they compound these effects to make the cars just feel like you're an 80-year-old grandma that doesn't know where the fucking steering wheel is. What is it simulating? That's a good question. Like, are there even any simulations being calculated for this game's physics model? I couldn't tell you. But I think the most enjoyable thing is definitely using the interior cameras because they are actually true to the car, right? I mean, this definitely looks a lot more detailed than it was in Pro Street. But it's really missing that fun factor, that festival factor that you had with the commentator and just the way every race day was introduced. Like it was better. But I will say this handling mod makes it definitely worth playing. I mean, it's kind of important for a game that, you know, is supposed to be a Simcade to feel like a Simcade too. The response that you had, like I didn't really notice the difference at first. Are you kidding me, dude? Dude, the opponents on hard are completely busted. Like they just rubber band and slam into you. There's no way he should make this. The way he's driving, there should not be a path to recovery. You know, I would like to play with realistic damage if it also accounts for the opponents, but usually realistic damage only accounts for the player. The opponents are just gonna drive on rails or their rubber band anyways. Yo, what the fuck? I think I see why they recommend the medium difficulty. In some events, the opponents are just overpowered. Like the handling mod fixes the weird driving, but it makes the handling overall slower. In my opinion, then the game should have more tweaking. Like you should be able to use the new handling model and still beat the highest difficulty. Wouldn't you agree? Okay, we're gonna do the same thing to him, man. I have to delete some videos. That sucks. Okay, we're gonna do the same thing to him, man. We're gonna brake late and then just use him as a fucking wall. Let's go, baby. I flipped him right there and then. Oh, he will never catch me now. Hey, he tried to murder me. It's only fair. Hey guys, Kuru here. Check out Instant Gaming for cheap game keys. Click the link in the description below. I will say I'm kind of missing the camera from Gran Turismo where you see all the front of your car. The hood cam is similar enough, I guess. Hey Jerry, thank you for the... What a bitch. I do wonder if the perfect start RPM is anywhere correct. Like if it really reduces your wheel spin and improves the acceleration. Kinda doubt it. But yeah, I wasn't actually sure what that... Oops. So sorry. Oh, rest in pieces. Yeah, not even my autopilot can handle this. I generally think developers should start including a modifier for point of view. So you can like adjust the interior cam to your liking. It still feels awkward. It looks less awkward because the car is more stable, but the autopilot can't even handle the car. It looks really slow. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the drift, I feel like we are around 20 kilometers per hour. That's 40, but who the fuck drifts at 40 kilometers per hour? Like, if you wanna know how you need to do drifting done right, just look at Forza Horizon. Like, Forza Horizon has one of the most natural feelings when it comes to, like, drifting. But I feel like Forza Horizon right now probably has a good mix of, like, realistic, easy, and fun drifting. What's the good car here? Corvette was always good, especially when you put the works conversion on it. Ford GT, might want to use this one today. I might be in the mood for some Porsche. 12 rating, 250k. Yeah, I'll take it. I want the Porsche. I mean, the game did do some things right, but the problem is it wasn't like this when it launched, right? Like the handling mod wasn't available. I'm pretty sure most people played with VSync on, which introduced a bunch of input lag. On the console, the input lag was forced. Like on the consoles, you can't even turn it off. And most people play on consoles, so you have like this default feeling that everybody gets and you can't change that, right? Like the first impression is extremely important when we're talking video games. I mean movies too, TV shows, right? First impression is so important. I actually have a hard time seeing that people can enjoy Shift without the handling mod. What are you guys doing? Holy shit, they cannot handle... Okay, my game is super buggy. I will say the handling mod makes the cars more realistically driving, but it really doesn't improve the game that much. Like, if you didn't like this game on release, I don't think you're gonna like it with this mod. Right? It doesn't change enough about the game that all of a sudden you will be jumping on it, loving it. And I would like this track in Pro Street more than in Shift. If it would exist, you know what I mean? If you could put Laguna Seca into Pro Street, I would like it more than in Shift. If you're someone like me that just plays a bunch of racing games, you keep comparing games to another, and this just falls behind most of them. But most importantly, it's boring with bad handling. That combination, you know, not being entertained while the handling is kind of annoying, it's not a good combination. Like, I nearly forgot the entirety of this game. At least I remembered some of the cutscenes from Shift 2, because it actually had bosses to beat in Shift 2. Shift 2 definitely tried to capture some gameplay elements that are typical for Need for Speed, but it still wasn't good enough. Shift was a terrible, terrible failure. Like, it didn't sell a lot. And then EA commissioned a second game simply because they didn't have anyone else. Criterion was still making Burnout. Like, Shift 2 only happened because they had nothing else. The thing is, since this game doesn't talk to you and doesn't really have any goal in mind other than, you know, unlocking the higher classes, I think the monotony kicks in pretty fast. I think that's like the biggest problem with racing games in general, that if you don't break the monotony on a regular basis, it just becomes too repetitive. And I can totally see why mainstream is not interested in doing this race, for example, all the time. Alright, GG, Shift. That's it for me tonight. Sleep tight. Definitely do come back on Thursday. And good night, Hot Shots.